does it matter whether domestic audiences are engaged? You talked about local audiences. I mean, these people in a sense are talking about something else.
Yeah, we are. Look, yes, it does, because in the end these things depend on carrying the public with you, both the public in the country in which you are treating the bill and the public at home. I mean, the classic situation was, you know, Ho Chi Minh understood very well that the Americans were actually going to be defeated not in the jungles of Vietnam, but on the campuses and streets of America. And if you can turn that, Milosevic nearly did it in the Kosovo War too. Can I make a couple of other points, just responding? I mean, first of all, guys, I'm not here to defend Afghanistan. It's a bloody disaster. We're on our way to losing. We have made just about every mistake it's possible to make in the book. There seems to be no international intention to turn that round. If you want a model of how not to do this, Iraq was and Afghanistan is, in almost every detail. We can go into that. And the result is we're going to lose. I mean, I now cannot see. When I was first asked to do this job by Conti Rice back in October, when I looked at Afghanistan, I started off thinking it can't be done. I concluded that there was just a smidgen of a chance that we could do it if we really got to start to get things right and started getting them wrong, instead of which they're going in the opposite direction very fast. And I'm absolutely not here in any way to defend what's going on in Afghanistan, nor, by the way, in international interventions of the two most recent examples, Iraq and Afghanistan, which seems to me to have been international intervention as the modern form of gunboat diplomacy of the 19th century. And I think it's entirely right that the press should expose that. And I think it's entirely right, David, that you should be impatient about that, and you should not submit yourself to any excuse of patience in exposing the failures of some of this policy. Indeed, if there's anything that I'm cross about in terms of Afghanistan, it is allowing our ministers, our foreign minister, certainly our defence, certainly Des Brown, to get away with putting a Panglossian message across and things are wonderful in Afghanistan when they manifestly are not.
I mean, soldiers know that.
Sorry?
The soldiers know that.
And the soldiers know that. I mean, the soldiers are winning on the ground, but we're losing politically, and that means you're losing, guys. So I'm not thinking, I want to come back to something David said a moment ago, just a minute, because the only point I fundamentally disagree with. I just want to make a couple of three other points. First of all, the post-Second World War settlement was based on something completely different. It was based on absolute defeat.
Absolutely true.
And when we go in to intervene, we prevent the absolute defeat happening. We prevent the final solution. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it's a good thing, because it saves lots and lots of lives. But if we let the Bosnian War run its course, the Serbs would have been defeated, there'd be no Republic of Srpska, and it would be much easier to build peace then. So let's not try and draw this comparison too tight. Second point for you. Take a look at the number of conflicts in the world, they are dropping. Take a look at the number of frozen conflicts in the world, they are rising. And that tells you something. It tells you that actually we're bloody good at the military bit, but we're bloody bad at the bit that really matters, which is bringing this post-conflict reconstruction to a successful conclusion. And why? First of all, we seem to believe that the intervention is somehow an exception. It's not. It's part of the bloodstream of international affairs. And the thing that we need to be good at now isn't fighting the wars, but the post-conflict reconstruction. We have redesigned whole armed forces to be able to project force to win the war, but we've redesigned nothing to be able to project the capacity to rebuild states after conflict, to create legal systems, create criminal structures to fight corruption, to create taxation systems, customs systems. We simply are not able to do this, and we need to do. So that's my second point. My third point is to disagree profoundly with David about something that he said. Well, we're here to disagree often. We should be able to put aside ancient hatreds quickly. I'm sorry, guys, you bloody well can't. And that's where strategic patience is required. And let me just give you some figures. It is said to have taken 200 years to get rid of the enmities generated by the English Civil War, to wash them out of our political system. If you go to Belfast today, 37 years later, you may well find McGuinness and Paisley, the Chuckle brothers, getting on very well in Stormont. But you go down into those streets, that enmity is still there. And it's perfectly reasonable that it should be. If somebody shot your brother or blew up your family, you ain't going to live in peace with him and happiness the next day. If in Sarajevo you go there and you find that there is a Bosniak who has been in one of those death camps that was exposed by those wonderful journalists who exposed them, Keraterman and Mashka, I'm sorry, they're not going to love the Serbs next day. They're just not going to do it. You know, the building of the hardware of the state, the institutions, etc., that you can do in 5 years, maybe 10. We did a hell of a lot in 4 years when I was in Bosnia to construct some of that hardware. But the software of the state is what lies in here. And that takes a long, long time to reconstruct. And this is where I think you have to have some understanding. Now, I'm really nervous about doing this, and I may be doing something, sorry Jean, which is really improper to do, and my journalist friends will beat me up. That wonderful man, Alan Whittle, who happens to be one of my heroes, and I sheltered in hotel rooms with him in the holiday hotel.
Not here to defend himself.
Not here to defend himself.
In fact, I'm texting him.
And believe me, Alan, I mean, I've told him, I've written a text about this. He produced a very good piece, went back to Boston, produced a very good piece on television recently, which I saw and made me bloody angry for the first time I've ever been angry with Alan. Because it said, this story was about, here was a family that was not moving back into their home in Priador, close to those death camps. But hang on, I mean, there isn't a single Catholic. I watched the Catholics being burnt out of their homes in Belfast in 1970. And we couldn't stop them, or we wouldn't stop them, or we didn't have the will to stop them. Not one has moved back. 1 million have moved back. And 1 million Bosniaks have moved back into Republika Srpska. In Srebrenica today, there is a Muslim mayor. In Priador, where there's in Kozalac, where there's a Muslim majority. It's a miracle. Of course you're going to be able to pick out 2 or 3 who can't move back. But there was a real story to be exposed there, which I think Alan Blessed missed. And the story was that we have allowed things to go backwards in Bosnia. Bosnia is at the edge of the crisis again, because we in the international community have not stopped the Serbs from beginning to prepare the way for a secession in Republika Srpska. Now, I think that what you have to understand that there is a human story, and it's often a tempting one, but the reality of it is that changing heart, don't get too upset if you can't change human attitudes too quickly, because that's part of the process. Whereas, you know, there are other areas where you can make progress. Enough of me. Alan's going to be furious with me because he wasn't here to defend himself.
I don't exist in the football.
Right. I'm sorry. I hope the last time I sat on this stage was with Alan. But I just wanted to make a point here that you do have, I think, to have some understanding of the strategic patience necessary to change people's minds, which is longer than quickly.